Welcome to Kiwi Grace. This year for our family trip we decided to go down to Cromwell, which is in the centre of the South Island. It is a beautiful drive down. This is on our drive down we stopped at Lake Tekapo. Lake Tekapo is famous for being surrounded by very tall mountains, Mount Cook in the distance or Mount Aorangi, and it has the most beautiful blue water. When we were visiting, it was peak lupin season, so all the flowers you can see, the deep purple blue flowers are lupins. Our drive took us through Lindis Pass. Lindis Pass is a mountain pass which leads into Mackenzie country, into central Otago, and in the winter it can often be covered in snow, so the road can often be closed with heavy snowfall. On our first full day we decided to do a day drive to Queenstown. This drive is a very scenic drive following the Kawerau River along the Gibbston Highway. Before arriving in Queenstown, we stopped in Frankton at the Remarkables Market. It was the cutest wee market. You could see the mugs there that you can borrow and take around to get a coffee. We enjoyed a white baked patty and some ice cream and a cream roll. They were delicious. This market had a good amount of local produce for sale: berries, stone fruit, plants, olives, olive oil, and all sorts of different creations. So we drove on to Queenstown. It was notoriously difficult to find a park. We drove around the block a few times until we did find one, but once we stopped we headed to the boardwalk and enjoyed some of the lake view. The lake is crystal clear and it is a stunning setting. We had a good look around the shops and ended up stopping for lunch at Eat Space DFS Galleria. It was so scrummy and there were lots of options to choose from, and it wasn't too busy either. Of course, we stopped for chocolates at Patagonia Chocolates, my favourite chocolate company, and they make the best coffee as well. After a fairly full day looking around Queenstown, we headed back towards Cromwell, but wanted to have a dip in the lake on the way, so we stopped at Frankton. Our third day began with a trip to the Cromwell Heritage Precinct Markets. So this is a market held in the Heritage Precinct, which is the historical town of Cromwell. So there are lots of old buildings. A lot of them have been moved because of floodplain risk, but we saw the Masonic Lodge and there's beautiful old barns, and we really enjoyed looking here. There was so much to see, so many little areas to discover. The more you look, the more you saw. We really enjoyed a good half morning wandering around this old city. We found many different interesting wee shops, like this amazing art gallery, which had some incredible and very interesting pieces in it. Most of the works of art were for sale, so if there is anything that tickles your fancy, I'm sure that you could contact the store and see if it's still there. We really love this image of the church with the red roof. Along all the sides of the buildings were hollyhocks. They were everywhere and they were stunning, quintessentially Otago. The shop had beautiful New Zealand pounamu, stunningly crafted, so many different shapes and colours. This wee store was inspirational. Its creations were ethereal and very, very unique. These are the old baker's bread ovens. For lunch, we drove across the river to Carrick Winery. They have a pizza cart there with wines and local beers, and the pizza is amazing. The view is stunning and it was just so relaxed. It was such a vibe. We stopped at the local lakefront to have a wee wander even though it was drizzling, and then we drove on to Bannockburn for a wee tiki tour, and we just drove around. The weather was a bit poor to hop out of the car, but there was still lots to look at, lots of pretty colours, and the view was amazing from up here. For the afternoon, we head to Smithy's cherry farm. Before we started picking cherries, we had a briefing.
Please wash before you eat, because I see some remnants of a spray. There are some calcium left. Okay, you will see that in the box you buy from the supermarket too. All right. So calcium, although is good for our bones, but if you eat too much, go poop poop poop.
The trees in these orchards were absolutely covered with cherries, and they were red and juicy and shiny and so perfect. In this shot here, we get a glimpse of the export quality cherries, and it's really hard to see, but they were massive. There was also a wee farm at the cherry farm, and it had a few animals like horses and sheep. I think it's a llama and some goat, and they eat cherries. They had a wee bucket of food that you could feed to them. On the way home to our unit, we stopped off at Highlands Motorsport Park. This is just the place to go if you are a petrol head. You can do go-karts, you can do racing, you can go in the really flash sports cars and have a test drive. My uncle's done this previously. We gifted him one for his birthday and he said it was amazing. All in all, a very cool place to go, and they have a wee cafe for a coffee. The next day we headed to Clyde and Alexandra. We stopped off in Clyde Old Town, which is the cutest wee village. It has old buildings, old cottages, and they are just flanked by beautiful little gardens and hollyhocks, of course. The different shops have a multitude of locally produced products for sale. Look at the incredible flowers on this flame bush. Aren't they stunning? And of course, even in Clyde, we see so many hollyhocks. These colours are incredible. Deep pinks, light pinks. We saw whites, reds, stunning. The old shops haven't been forgotten either. They've been filled with new shops that contain cycle shops, galleries, pottery places, even an ice creamery, which we try out later in the trip. And this is Clyde Dam. On to Alexandra and the Shaky Bridge. The Shaky Bridge crosses the river. It's just a pedestrian bridge, but you can move side to side and the whole thing wibbles and wobbles. And behind us you can see the Alexandra clock on the hill. We drove up to the observation point up the top of the hill and the view was outstanding. I mean, look at this. The sky looks incredible and you could see everything from this point. It really is worth the trip up. Lunch was at Industry Lane today. It's situated along the rail trail, so you get quite a lot of cyclists stopping off here. It is a very nice cafe. The options are very delicious and we all thoroughly enjoyed ourselves and we're ready for lunch. Later on we stopped at Lane Dam, which is up the hill. It is a nice wee walk around quite a small lake, but it is very picturesque. There are little waterfalls, lots of native ducks. And on our way back to Cromwell, we stopped at the Nom Nom Ice Creamery. On day 5, we hopped in our cars and did a convoy to Wanaka. On our way, we passed lots of wineries, cherry orchards, apple orchards, stone fruit orchards. It's very picturesque and very scenic. Dotted along the way with little fruit stalls on the side of the road. We stopped here and it had, well, we've been here before, the most amazing selection of jams, oils, olive oils and honey. Mwah. This Black Peak ice cream company was fantastic, so many amazing flavours. After strolling around the city centre, we made our way to the famous tree in the lake. This is a quintessential stop when you come to Wanaka and it is super famous. It is a tree in a lake. So apparently this tree is one of the most photographed trees in the whole world. And it definitely drew a crowd when we were there. On our way back to our accommodation, we stopped at a little pond to have a dip, but it was full of ducks and pondweed, so it was a quick dip, but it was refreshing. The following day, we followed the Kawarau River and we stopped at the Roaring Meg Dam. It is incredible to look at. The water just literally roars through this area. This area was also a known gold field with prospectors coming from far and wide to try their luck. And I love the possible origin of the name Roaring Meg, potentially from two ladies that accompanied diggers. They had to carry one of the ladies across the river and they hooted and hollered and moaned all the way. Our next stop was the famous Arrowtown, hidden in a mountain valley. This quaint little town is boasting with plenty of shops and great food. We of course got a coffee from Patagonia Chocolate Company, which is incredible. They have the most amazing chocolates and the most amazing coffee. And there's also a branch of the remarkable sweet shop, which is a must stop for any of those sweet tooths. Every day we made the most of staying by the lake and had a swim in Lake Dunstan. That evening, a couple of the members of our party went to the local stock racing to watch the cars.
Jack Anderton getting a bit of confidence after that win last time out. Gives Lovell a bit of sideways action on the way going through.
On day 7, my dad decided to do the rail trail from Cromwell to Clyde, and he hired an electric bike, while the rest of our party hopped in the cars and drove to St Bathans, one of my favourite places in New Zealand. On the way, we stopped in this teeny little town of Ophir and found the most amazing public pool. It was open to entry as long as you left a donation. They had very clean and tidy changing rooms, and the water was crystal clear. Just a hop and a skip from Ophir, over the bridge was Omakau, a cute little town with lots of little shops and storefronts that we explored for a bit before finding lunch at the Muddy Creek Cafe. These veggie baked beans were amazing. As we got closer to St Bathans, we seemed to get higher up into the surrounding hills. St Bathans is the most incredible historic town. It has an old hotel. It used to be inhabited by thousands of people, and it has a lake which is from an old digging site. One of the major attractions of St Bathans is the Vulcan Hotel, and it holds a ghostly secret. So this is Rose's room. A tragic story. Rose was a singer at the local club, and she worked as a prostitute out of this very room. One night she was murdered and her body thrown in the local river, and her hard-earned money taken from her. To this day, many have felt her presence, creaking floorboards, lights flicking on, cupboards opening and closing. Men seem to be especially prone. The hotel is fairly authentically furnished, and to this day is a popular destination for those seeking a ghostly experience to stay, or ghost hunters who want to see if they can tune into anything. Just across the road is the Blue Lagoon of St Bathans. The Blue Lagoon is a huge lake created from extensive mining operations during the late 1800s and early 1900s. It is now used for swimming, kayaking, fishing, and is popular with many locals and those from further afield. On the day we were there was a crew of little buggies, dune buggies, driving down to the lake. The Blue Lagoon seems to have changed a lot since I was there last. It's become a major tourist destination, and it's been set up to host it. I remember it being a grassy area, and we were one of the only people there, and we swam in the lake and enjoyed ourselves years ago. We didn't have a swim this time, but the lake was as stunning as ever, with these towering cliffs around the lake, and the lake was deep, deep blue. And we also saw this giant bush dragonfly, which was huge. We decided to take a different route back to Clyde, and it took us on a gravel road. Very dusty, but it was supremely beautiful. Eventually we were back on a sealed road, which ended up driving past Gilchrist. We had to stop in at the Gilchrist General Merchants, which is a shop that is almost fully set up as it would have been in the late 1800s or early 1900s, and the shop owner was a true character. There was just so much to see here, so much to read and so much to explore, and in some ways it was hard to tell what was for sale and what was from the old days. But of course for us it was also an ice cream stop. Well, our final day was our drive home to Christchurch. The day was overcast and drizzly, one of the only ones like this on our entire trip. But we enjoyed the drive back, we enjoyed the scenery, and we were looking forward to getting home to our houses and to our animals. While Mum and Dad continued on to a cruise on Milford Sound, so at the end of this vlog there are some bonus shots that they took while they were further down south. Thanks for watching.